Good evening, a very, very good evening, and welcome to 2022 on the Open Door webinar show from Property CEO. We've missed you. Have you missed us? Yeah, we haven't. We've missed them all, haven't we, Ian?
Is it too late to say Happy New Year? I don't know what the rules are around that, but if it's not too late, then Happy New Year.
Well, people are putting Happy New Year in the chat box, so I think it's not too late. You know, if our guests are doing it, then we can do it too. Anyway, look, very warm welcome to you. My name's Richie Clapson, and of course you can see I'm here with the other half, Mr. Ian Child. Give us a quick wave if you can see and hear us, please. Give us a quick wave if you can see and hear us. We had a few technical problems this morning on a webinar. Hands are going up. That's terrific. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you very much. You can put your hands down now. Look, it's great to have you here, and as always, mind you, if you're new, you wouldn't know it's as always, but over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be taking a deep dive, as we always do, into the world of property development. Isn't that right, Ian?
Certainly is. We're going to be covering some of the latest news items, and over the course of Open Door, we'll be talking to lots of the movers and shakers in the industry, people that can give us a bit of a steer on what's happening out there, things that might benefit us, and also I think shining a bit of a spotlight on areas of development where there could be a nice little opportunity for small-scale developers to take advantage.
Absolutely. And, you know, rest assured, tonight we don't have a guest. And I know a few of you don't want to listen to us and you just want guests. That's all you want. But it's an Open Door webinar show from Property CEO. We are Property CEO. So quite a bit of the time you will get us. I am sorry about that, but it's just the way it is. So, but we do have, don't we? And we have a huge guest list lined up for 2022. And I mean, they're not going to be any good, but, you know, we've got some guests. We've got some guests lined up. And so we will be bringing them to you shortly. Anyway, look, above all, we're here to have a bit of fun because, I mean, life's tough, isn't it? Even 2022, we're getting into it. There's a lot of stuff still going on out there. So this little bubble that we're going to be in for 45 minutes, the Open Door show, you know what it's like. We always want to be upbeat because that's what we have to do. But of course, as always, we need you to join in. So please put your questions in the chat box. It is a question and answer show. Without any questions, we already struggle, actually. It's not much fun just rambling. Well, mind you, actually, I don't mind it, to be honest. I could probably do 45 minutes on my own, no problem at all. But please put them in and we would do our best to try and get them answered. Ian, what are we going to be doing this evening?
Well, we're going to be talking about why 2022 might be a bit different for property developers. So Rich is going to be talking about, you know, whether there's any nasty surprises kind of lurking around the corner. Is it going to be business as usual? And he's been delightfully buffing his crystal ball all day, and he's looking forward to sharing his thoughts on what we've got to look forward to. And I think in particular, if you've got plans to do development in 2022, what is that going to look like? So yeah, no pressure, Richie, over to you.
Absolutely not. Well, let's see who's on. So who have we got on? Jenny's on, Jenny and Roman's on, which is really good news. Nice to see you here. Cheryl's on, Joe's on, Anthony's on, Sarah's on, John's on, Patrick's on, Danny's on, Lucas is on, Rimsha's on, Debbie. Who else is on? Nemily's on, Rory's on, Roma's on. Hello, Roma, #1 fan. There we go. Ramika's on. Hello, Ramika. Lots of people. Damien, Damien, I trust you well. Pardeep's on. I was speaking to you earlier. You can't get enough of us, Pardeep, can you? Nice to see you all on there. And some comments in the chat box. Rory says, good evening. Happy New Year, chaps. Happy New Year to you. Raymond's just joined. Hello, Raymond. Raymond, by the way, we start at 7. You know the rules, so why turn up late? But never mind, we'll let you off. Happy New Year, says Joe. Jenny says, there are no rules. There are no rules. There are no rules about what? I can't remember what that was about. But Jenny, I'm sure there's none. Absolutely. Yes, it's all good, Ramika says. Hello to you. Hello to you too, smiley face. Sorry about putting the same question in both sessions. Yeah. Jenny put a question in this morning about a Q&A. Jenny, do you want us to answer that same question tonight? I've already answered it once. If you do, you'll have to put it in the chat box because I can't remember what it's about. It's about concrete and reinforcement and that sort of thing. If you do want to answer another answer, I'll see if I do the same thing. I'll have to Google it again, but I'll see what I can do in the time we've got available. Anyway, look, it's good to have you on here. Dan says, Happy New Year, gents. Good to see you back. Oh, good to have you back. Oh, Dan, it's good to see you here this evening. Nice for you to make a bit of an effort and join us. Yoko's just joined. Hello, Yoko. Running a bit late, my friend, aren't you? Never mind. Alarm clocks are all the rage for 2022. Get it on there, and then you can get here on time, Yoko. But we'll let you off. Okay. Ian, have you got some news items? Well, because I think we ought to do a bit of news for 2022 before we kick off, and I'm going to be talking about what's new. Have you got some news items tonight or not? If you haven't, I'll just carry on.
No, well, I have got a few little snippets. So they're mainly a couple on the planning side and one on the environmental side. So on the planning side, those of you that can cast your mind back to when the government put out their planning reform white paper and their proposals for changing the planning system, one of the things that actually sparked fury amongst backbench MPs and their constituents was the idea of this kind of zonal thing where councils were going to allocate land as various different, like 3 different kind of categories, but one of them was this category called growth, which kind of implied that you could almost do what you like on it. It's like planning permission was almost automatically granted. What's quite interesting, almost through the back door, the government has actually said, well, actually, that's not the case. When they're going to be looking at growth areas, it was always the plan that all the sort of kind of small details, the minutiae of individual applications would be consulted on before approval. So there's been quite a few people that have seen this. It wasn't a major statement, but they've spotted it in an inquiry submission, which is quite interesting. So I think we're all expecting in the spring we're going to be hit with the new planning framework, what that's going to look like. And we thought that they might have to rethink the whole growth thing. Maybe then they're going to keep the growth thing, but they're just going to kind of apply a few more parameters in it so that local people and local planners in particular have some sign off. So that was one thing that I saw. And the other thing that I saw was from it was a review that was commissioned by Barratt's house builders, and basically what they're lobbying for is the local plans for councils that they need urgent review. So basically they say that the rules have all changed. COVID has changed absolutely everything. So there is now a permanent shift to home working, and that councils now need to look more favourably on certain types of planning application. They reckon, based on their survey, that 7.5 million workers in the UK are hoping to do their jobs from home, which is double what it was before, and 72% want a mix between home and office working. So basically they're saying that the properties that need planning permission, they're going to change, the demand has changed, and they put that out there. So it'd be interesting to see what comes back from that. And then the final one, as I said, was on the environment. So this was a consultation that's just been launched. When was this? I think it was yesterday. And it's about making sure that it's kind of this thing called biodiversity net gain, which is a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is that they want to be putting nature and biodiversity gain at the heart of all planning, decision making and design. So what does that mean? Who knows at the moment? It's consultation, so it's going to be quite a long time before we get the results of it, but it looks like, when we come to whatever it is that we're going to be building, that there's going to be some environmental requirements, as there are obviously today for things like natural light and so on. So be interesting to see what that turns out to be, but it won't be any time soon, I suspect. There we go. That was the news.
I think you're very good at news. And do you know what I think you need to do at the end? Okay, you need to take your papers, shuffle them, and do that, and then you sort of put your pen in your pocket like they do on the news, and sort of sign off. I think there's a future for you here. I really think news at 7.
You could do the weather then, couldn't you, next?
I could do the weather. Yeah, I don't mind. I'll do anything. I'm sort of fairly easy with this. I don't mind. Jenny and Roman. Well, Roman says, hi, Richie, we don't need you to answer the question again. That's a shame, isn't it? Everyone else is going to miss out. There was a question about corroding reinforcement underneath a plumber's merchant, but you're going to miss out on that. Unless you were a student of ours and you're on the live Q&A, you would have seen that. If not, you've missed out. But never mind. Let's move on. Okay. So what was the question we posed? What was the thing? We talked about why 2022 will be different for property developers. And you're probably thinking, well, why is it different then? What's going on? Well, hopefully you're thinking that. That's maybe why you're here, unless you tuned in by mistake. So look, as we enter this year, we were talking about, well, what is going to happen? Are things moving back towards business as usual? That's the sort of questions that we posed. Maybe there's a few surprises around the corner. Maybe there's a few little hints in some of the things that Ian just said on the news. So what's really going on? Okay, what's in store for developers? So I just put a few thoughts. Well, I'm going to put a few thoughts to you around this, just to get you thinking about 2022, and whether you're a existing developer. I know there's a lot of our students on this evening, so whether you're a student of ours and you're embarking on this small scale development journey, whether you're completely new and you're just looking over the parapet of property development and thinking, am I going to give it a go or not? Well, look, here's a few thoughts. So first of all, let's talk about the delicate subject of COVID. And I know a huge amount of us have suffered out there. A lot of us have lost people through that. So let's not belittle that, but let's just think about it a little bit, okay? We've now lived with it probably for a couple of years. You know, it's nearly a couple of years, isn't it? I guess nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
And you know, if we now look at, okay, whether you're an anti-vax or whatever, and let's not get into politics or whatever was, but you know, the approach generally has been vaccination, and whether you agree with that or don't agree with that, whether you've been done or not, but we know that, you know, I think it's about 90% got their first, and it's nearly that. I think it's 80 something have had their second, and about 60 something have had their boosters. I think that's the sort of current figure. So generally, that's a decision we've made. Some people haven't, and I totally respect that. That's absolutely fine. So if we think about it, we've made that decision. We've found what appears to be the answer. Okay, again, you might have a view on that, but we found what appears to be the answer. The majority of the people in this country, by a long stretch, seem to have adopted that approach. And I guess there's a question, and I mean, how you find the stats on this and what you believe, I don't know. But ask yourself, you know, are more people getting through this and surviving? And so I'm not, you know, I'm aware absolutely some of you have friends and relatives that haven't. I'm aware of that. But you know, generally, how many more people are surviving? Because a huge amount of more are getting it. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly I've come across so many more people this time that I know really close to me that have got it than I did last time when I'm talking about the various waves that we've had. So ask yourself that question: how many more people are surviving? And the I guess slightly sensitive question, and again, you know, who's going to actually tell you the truth? But you know, are a lot of these deaths from people that haven't been vaccinated? I don't know. I don't know. You hear some of the news of some people and other people saying it's not. But what is the truth behind that? And you can only go out and make your own minds up. But I think the thing is, and I think the important point of COVID is we've lived with it for 2 years. It's probably not going to disappear. You know, it's a great flu pandemics that we've had in the past. It's here. We've got it. And if you think about it, you know, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. Is it? And again, I mean, who knows what the numbers are? But it's something like about 25,000 deaths a year from flu. That's what we used to have. And we sort of accepted that. And I know it's things like every 20 minutes, someone is killed or seriously injured on our roads. Yet we still get in the car and drive. Even sometimes I've been a passenger with Ian. You know, one takes your life in your own hands once he's driving. But
high risk.
Say again.
High risk.
Absolutely high risk. I would have said higher than high, but there we go. So I think, you know, my point on there is just, I want you to think about this, is we've lived with it. Okay, we've lived with it. So what's happening now? Well, in our opinion, in my opinion particularly, is businesses are moving on. Okay, because you know, so many businesses have failed. We're aware of that, and again, we probably know people that have had businesses failed, and that's tough. But so many businesses now that were just holding station are now moving on and reshaping as necessary. You know, do we need an office or not? As Ian just said, what was the number, Ian? How many people was it wanted to work from home? What was that number on your news?
72%.
72% of people want to work from home now. That's the route, was it? Yeah.
In some capacities, that's like hybrid working.
Don't start making excuses now for your numbers. It was 72% or not. So
let me look it up.
Can you look it up, please? So anyway, look. So do we need offices or not? That's what the question many companies are going to be asking themselves. You know, we've had the back in the office, we're not in the office. This is the new norm. That's a phrase that we commonly get. So, you know, what about that? And if we do need an office, how big is it going to be? And what are the requirements for our staff if they do work at home? Do we have to, you know, insure them? Do we have to look after them? Do we have to make sure they've got the right workstations? Do we have to give them some money to rent a space or whatever? And then, if you think about the businesses, it's how do they survive? Let's look at other sectors. What about retail? How does retail survive? Retail has to survive because we buy things. We have to buy things. So retail has to survive, but in a different format, perhaps. How does leisure survive? Well, we're a nation of experiences. And, there will be some people who will have changed their lives forever and some people who will probably shield for many, many years. But the majority of us will be back and doing leisure in some way, even if it's socially distanced or whatever. But how do these businesses survive? Because all of these sectors, I believe, in 2022 will seriously start thinking about reshaping. Because they have to. Because as a business, you can pedal for a little bit. I've been in the business before when we've had things, not global pandemics, but we've pedaled a little bit and we've trod water, and then we go, well, we've got to get on now because things have changed. And things would be like when I had an international business and we worked in certain markets and the market stalled and it got changed, and in the end we went, let's just get out, or we reshaped that business in that city, in that town, in that country. So what's going to happen? I think businesses are going to start moving on, okay? And of course, new businesses will form. All those people that were let go, were furloughed and then let go. And as sad as that is, what happens? Well, they start new businesses. Where old restaurants shut down, they had big overheads, they got a bit ungainly. I was talking to someone the other day and his comment, and a very successful business, and some people might know of this business, okay, I'm not going to mention it, because it's quite well-renowned business in this country. And that individual said to me, he said, our problem is our overheads. They're massive and we don't know how to cut them. And so a lot of these businesses that will have folded, there'll be new, fresh entrepreneurs, because we are a world of entrepreneurs, starting those new businesses, those new restaurants. I mean, who'd have thought, whenever it was a year, 2-3 years ago, that, Uber Eats and things could deliver, a coffee for you. It's bizarre. You can order a coffee and it turns up. My wife goes mad with that sort of stuff. So we are a world of entrepreneurs. We embrace these new things. So those new businesses will happen. They will happen. People will be moving. They'd have had enough. They go, I'm going to move on. Let's move house. We've saved for 2 years. Let's now do it. Okay. For their jobs, new opportunities, as I've just talked about, because they can't wait any longer. You can't wait. You just got to get on with stuff. So what does that mean to you? Okay, and start thinking about any questions. You've got these questions, throw them in the chat box. If you don't agree with any of this, put it in the chat box as well. We don't mind having a bit of a debate, but any questions, please throw in there. I can see a few popping in as I'm chatting. So how can you take advantage? If you're that developer looking over the parapet, thinking about development, or you're one of our students and you're on the journey and you've been a bit nervous, or maybe you're just looking for a bit more inspiration, how can you take, look, get out there and look for those new opportunities, for those businesses that are reshaping. Think about the marketplace out there. You're an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you'll be sat watching the telly tonight. Maybe you'd watch. If you're watching the telly whilst watching and listen to us, that's bang out of order. You pay attention to us, okay? Pay attention. Turn the telly off. So look at the marketplace. Understand the marketplace. What, in your opinion, because there's no right or wrong out there, what do you think the new office working is going to be? The new retail working? Okay, what is it going to be? The new industry of all sorts of sectors. How are they going to work? What offering are they going to give? Listen, read, ask. Flexibility, in my opinion, is the key to everything, because we live in a very vulnerable world, a very flexible world. Those businesses that survive are lean, highly leveraged. We teach a highly leveraged model in development. If you're thinking about getting to development, you don't need any staff. Wait, that's the best news you've heard for all year. Oh no, we don't just started the year. We're 13 days in, but it's great news, isn't it? You do not need staff. Worry about a furlough scheme. I haven't got any staff. Run a highly leveraged business model. We practice what we preach. We run a highly leveraged business model. Yeah, we could have furloughed ourselves, but no, joke aside, we do run a highly leveraged business model, and I think that's important. We're a business that can flex. Every business has to flex. Think about that. Think about your development offering of what you can offer to those flexible businesses. Co-retail, co-living, co-offices, all those things that we've talked about in the press over the last few years, even before the pandemic. And I think the important thing, okay, do not use excuses. Okay, don't sit back, because a lot of you will. And this is your kick up the backside, because you sit there and go, oh, I don't know, 2022, it's a difficult year, it's been a bit tricky. That's my excuse. I'm not really going to kick my development career off. Don't worry, it's just another year. I won't get my pension pot, live my dreams, get financial freedom. So what? The life clock's not ticking. Of course it is. Do not make excuses. Make it happen. That's my passion. Damien's on today. He said he missed me whinging over Christmas, I think. He said that this morning in a live Q&A. So Damien, hopefully you're lapping a bit of this up this evening. So, because I can see you're on there, my friend. So I think, the point is, I want you to make it happen. I want you to go out and do it. Okay? The world's changing. The 2022, we are settling down. Whatever you think, whatever's going to happen to COVID, industry will have to settle down and move on. The money is there. The deals are there. The marketplace is there. Go get it. There ends tonight's sermon. Any comments on that?
Oh, that was brilliant. To be fair, I've been listening to you whinge all day, so it's not quite as new to me as it is to other people, but I thought that was fantastic. And I think great advice. How many people are sat here at the start of 2022 reflecting on what perhaps they thought the same time last year or the year before that? Loads of water passed under the bridge, but at some point we kind of got to jump in, and even though we're completely out of the woods yet, to be honest, it's kind of always woods. So it really is a question of kind of making it happen. So many people have all those great intentions, but actually the ones that jump out and do it, they're the ones that get the results. So and now New Year's resolution, great time to do it. Okay,
let's see if we got some questions. Dan Nelson says, well said. That's all in capitals. That means he's shouting. You don't shout at us. That's disrespectful. But I can't let you off. John says, couldn't agree more with those sentiments. John, absolutely. He's just people like you and Dan out there that's going to make these things happen. It's important. And just a couple of agreements before we get into questions. Ian, if you want to line up a first question. Cheryl says, true. Lots of offices have online portals now with lots of forms, etc. Likely changes in inner city areas with fiber, 5G. Absolutely, Cheryl. Absolutely. Lots of really exciting things happen. And, there was someone I was talking to today who is online this evening. I'm not going to say who it was. And you know who you are. And we were chatting about all those people that make excuses, that made excuses over the last few years. Don't make them anymore. Ian, we've got a question.
We have got a question here from Nadia. Good evening, Nadia, who asks, I'd be interested on your thoughts of what would be the implication of another lockdown, and also, do you think it will happen? Okay, so, I mean, never say never. Rich has kind of touched on this a little bit, but I mean, it's looking increasingly unlikely that there's going to be another lockdown. I think for a lot of the reasons that Richie mentioned, a lot of high-risk people have been jabbed, so in theory, then that should mean that the NHS is going to be under less stress than it would have been before, and that's one of the key drivers of lockdown. I think also fairly obviously the government's really looking. We're seeing some good news at the moment, and one of the things that is some good news is keeping the economy going, and it's certainly very true. Every time there's a lockdown, it's massive expense. Businesses suffer, people suffer as a result, so they really want to minimize that. So we could get a new variant, I suppose. That could definitely happen. I think a lot of the stuff that I saw about that was kind of the scientists were sort of thinking that if there was a new variant, it's probably more likely to be a milder version rather than a more virulent one, because of the way in which these viruses kind of evolve. Who knows? But I think on balance, yeah, it's unlikely that we're going to be entering the kind of sort of lockdown that we had before. I certainly hope not. A few thoughts.
Okay. Next question. Sadie says, I like your positive thoughts on the market for 2022. Thank you, Sadie, very much. Which market sector do you think best to focus on? Well, Sadie, I think the two key ones, in my opinion, that they're going to biggest shake up is the office and the retail sector. Okay. Now the retail sector was happening anyway. We knew that shake up was coming, and COVID has accelerated that, as we've talked about many times. And so I think this permanent change to retail is going to be going on. So I would definitely be concentrating on retail. And I think the office changes, we tried to work from home many years ago, and I think it was people like, it was Google, I think, or someone like that, who said no, we need to have people in offices, and it sort of all backtracked, and people sort of listened, and that's what we've done for, I can't remember whether that was 10, 15 years ago. But I do think that sector now has been permanently changed. Okay. I'm always going to say damaged, but it hasn't been damaged because those businesses that survive are the flexible businesses that think ahead and don't just sit back and go, oh, we can't get people in the office, we can't work like that. And I knew some old managers that used to work under me, and they would have been like that. Well, if we can't get the staff in the office, how do we know what they're doing? They're going to be running crazy. They'll be having long lunch breaks, and that attitude's got to change. That's not how staff work. In fact, most companies I know that are already going down this route and have accelerated this route said, actually, we get more performance out of our staff when they're at home. And generally that's the case, you know. So I think the office sector, the business sector, anyone, Sadie, that needs an office, that big changes, big changes. So what you want to be getting in is providing the office of the future. There we go. Couple of sectors, couple of ideas. Next question, Ian.
Well, just because I was asked specifically to reflect on those numbers that I quoted to you that I couldn't quite lay my hands on, just to back up your point, it was double the number of people that want to do their jobs from home permanently, and 72% want a mix between home and office working. And I say not everybody wants to be perched on the edge of the ironing board or in the conservatory. So yeah, they'll be looking for some local office space, much of which is yet to be built. Right, question. I did have one here somewhere before I got distracted, and it is from, where has it gone? Jamie. Evening, Jamie. I would have thought that people would still be sat tight for a bit longer and not move house, etc. What do you say to that? Well, I think what I say to that, demand definitely has been pretty high recently for a number of reasons potentially behind it: stamp duty, holiday, people in certain situations wanting to take advantage of moving house for other reasons as well. But I think, you know, house prices went up, what, 10-11% last 12 months. There is still a significant amount of pent-up demand in the market. We're going to be certainly seeing some modifications to, it's not going to necessarily be the same as what we've seen over the last 12 months. But I think there's a few things to kind of think about. We've certainly got this new way of working. So reference what I was saying before, you know, people are looking for, they're actually demanding different properties. So they want perhaps an extra bedroom they can use as a study. They want some outdoor space because, yeah, previously they might have been climbing the walls. Perhaps, you know, maybe a nice outdoor garden space that they could have socially distanced parties in. You know, that everybody is looking, a lot of people are looking for things that are kind of slightly different now, and so that is still there. There is certainly going to be a sweet spot in terms of people that will have already moved in certain segments, but I think, you know, that we definitely haven't seen the end to it. I think estate agents are still being quite bullish. They always are, but you know, I think with reasonably good reason. So I think whilst things are likely to calm down a bit, we may see some sort of light troughing in 2022. It will pick back up again. So I think, yeah, at the end of the day, people can only sit tight for so long. And if you've been sat tight for the last 2 years, something's got to happen. And a lot of people, I think, have reached the point where they think, well, you know what? Yeah, if this is a new normal, it's a new normal. It looks like perhaps some of the emergency stuff has gone out of the way. We're now kind of in a slightly different place. I've held fire for 2 years. I'm now going to do it. So I think we'll see there's still a sort of vibrancy in the market that will make that. We'll see that happen. Hope that helps.
I love the term light troughing. I think that's what my teenagers used to do when they were at home. No longer teenagers now, but there we go. I think the interesting thing there, and you know, it was Jamie, wasn't it? You're answering Jamie's question there, Ian, is that, you know, it's such an exciting time. You know, that people are demanding more out of their homes, and they're demanding this office space, and you know, I think that is really, really exciting. It's a great time to be in this industry and doing something new, doing something different, which is important. I can't believe it. I'm sat here. Look, I'm on the middle of the show. My mobile's here, and my mum and dad's ringing me. What are they doing? I'm alive on air. What are they doing? It's crazy. Do they not know? They not know we're stars here and we are on the show. Okay, another question. I'll have to ring them back in a minute. I won't do it during the show. What type of business do you think, and this is from Jenny and Roma, what type of business do you think might go online permanently, leaving empty premises? That's an interesting one. I think, I think a lot of restaurant food provision, Jenny Roman. I think, we talked about, the Deliveroo and all those, I don't know, other delivery services are available, of course. That's huge. That's gone huge. And this sort of growth, I think, of things like dark kitchens, and that's just not where the light bulbs have gone. These are kitchens that just produce food for takeaways, But takeaways, I mean, it used to sort of be, okay, what should we have a takeaway? Well, we're going to have a Chinese, an Indian, a kebab, a pizza, a fish and chips, and we sort of run out. I know that's 5 days a week and you've only got 2 you've got to cook for. But I think and a lot of that stuff was pretty crappy, wasn't it? It was a sort of a dirty, horrible treat that you used to give yourself. But now, I mean, I remember during the lockdown, there was a local restaurant up the road from my son and his wife, really nice restaurant. And they were chatting one day and said, we're just eating a so-and-so's. I can't remember what the blooming place was called. And I said, really? I thought it was shut. He went, it was. They're delivering. It's brilliant. And I said, what was it like? He said, really good. Almost, not quite, but almost as good as the restaurant. It came, it was hot, it was perfect. And I think, so these dark kitchens, now that causes two things, Jenny Roman here. One, it probably means there's vacant premises in terms of those retail restaurant spaces, which now those that are in the know, those that don't, you can convert those under permitted development rights to residential. So this is part of the new reformation of the high street, okay, live, work, etc., etc. But of course, where's the demand for the dark kitchens? Well, that's industrial space. Now, so this sort of and we always talk about opportunities for developers. And when you're a proper true developer, which is what we try and train, it's not just commercial conversion. No, it's developing. So why not develop commercial to commercial? Why not actually, recreate the new dark kitchens? Because don't forget, okay, under Class E, a dark kitchen is probably, I can't remember whether that comes under light industrial, work, but you can repurpose these buildings. So tackle both ends of that market. I think that's one sector. There's definitely others. I mean, I suspect a big one could be, doesn't necessarily help you with permitted development rights, but car showrooms. Car showrooms. I mean, I'm going to be the only one wandering around the damn things. I love wandering around and buying cars. I mean, but I do think, is it Kazoo? Isn't it Kazoo? You can, whatever that is on online. You've seen the effort. These things have really rocketed over the last few years. And whilst people, I love the buying experience, but there's plenty of people out there who would just go, I just need a car, and you're going to drop it off and take the old one away, just like my washing machine. So why not? So I think, that a lot of these car showrooms, be very careful about developing them. A lot of them are old petrol stations. They don't always have permitted development rights, but I think that's a sector which could permanently go online. There we go. There's a few thoughts there. Ian.
Fantastic. Harjinder, good evening, Harjinder, asks, do you think that the money is there in 2022 for new developers, or do you think it will be more difficult to get? Well, I suppose the question there is kind of what's changed. There has been a pretty draconian sort of difference, change in the interest rate that we all now enjoy. But let's be honest, didn't really set the world alight. Probably not going to be making too many people making too many different investment decisions on the back of it. And if you think, what is it that people are? What's the situation that they're now in this year that they weren't in last year? Well, you've got to remember, from a property development perspective, if you're looking to secure private investment, typically you're probably going to be looking at offering around about 8 to 10%, something of that ilk. And whilst you won't be able to give a first charge on it typically if you've got commercial lending, but it's still the asset, the underlying asset is property, which is less likely to completely vaporize compared to the value in stocks and shares. So it's a relatively good proposition. It's a really attractive interest rate, and frankly, people have not had great places to invest their money. The last 2 years, arguably, a lot of people have been sitting kind of still and not making investment decisions because of the uncertainty in various areas, not least of all, just day-to-day life. So I think there isn't, I don't think there's any great catalyst, anything that's happened that would spark people to have a different view in terms of private investment. I think there's even more likely to be even more money out there looking to get invested. And yeah, as small scale developers, we've got a really attractive proposition. Once you get over that kind of credibility hurdle and you've got people on side and they believe that their money's safe, that their money is, you know, being invested in something that's robust and that you're a strong developer, then yeah, there's a very few places where they can get that level of return. So I think you're still likely to be in a very good spot with private investors in 2022. There we go. How do you know?
Damien says, sounds like Richie has been cooped up over the festive period and finally let off the leash today. Look out, world. You know, have a bit, Damien. I sort of miss the Open Door show. I miss, you know, all our little family of CEOs and wannabe CEOs out there, because we do this because we love this. This is great fun. And you know, those that know, I mean, give us a wave if you're new this evening. If you're completely new to the show, because you probably wonder what you let yourself in for. Give us a wave if you're new. Yeah, a good few people brand new to the show. Nice to see you on. Welcome. This is a bit what we're like. You know, this is no fluff, no BS. We tell you how it is. You know, go and have a look on YouTube. Listen to a few back shows of Open Door. There's some other little snippet videos and things on there. But I do, you know, a lot of people say you're off and have a rant. You just tell you how it is. There's no point, you know, sugarcoating stuff. It's important. Development's a really exciting industry, and you can make a lot of money out of it. But it's really important, and our students know this, that you know, we tell you how it is. You know, if you want to be successful, there are a way you can be successful. You can go and earn a lot of money, but you can lose a lot of money. So we need to tell you exactly how it is, and it is extremely difficult. So very passionate. We're very passionate about what we do, and we want to hold people accountable. So we would call people out. We would give them a kick up the proverbial to get them going. So yeah. Now, Damien, we do miss all this. We love it, and we put this on for free to try and give people a thought of, do they want to get into development? Yeah, why not? Hey, 2022, it's a good year. Okay. Alina says, good evening. She says, there have been lots of talk about the cost of materials for buildings. Do you think that now in 2022 is a good time to start thinking about getting into property development, or will material prices, I think that says erode away the profit? Well, look, just think about it. Material prices, people barking on about that all last year because it makes news. There's all material prices are going up, this, that, and the other. One thing you've got to get into perspective is that material prices themselves are probably half of the total construction cost, just roughly. And the construction costs are only a relatively small proportion of the overall cost of the development by the time you take in the purchase, the finance, all the professional fees. Okay, and it's not all material costs that have gone up. So it's only a proportion of the half of, do you get my point? It's not always a big number. Okay, and do you know, a lot of people look at it and it gets bandied around in certain property circles, but I've been in this industry nearly 40 years. We've had material prices go up and down all the time. Yeah, things are short. Yeah, there's been some problems. But the other thing you want to look at, Lena, is if you're getting now into property, so you're saying, your specific question is about getting into property now. Do you think it's a good time? Yes, because if you get into it now, assuming you're brand new and you're looking over the parapet, you're thinking about it, you're going to have to get yourself educated, because do not just give this a go, because you'll probably fall flat on your face. Okay, and we don't want you to do that. Whether it's with us, it doesn't matter, but with someone, get educated. There's some good people out there. I mean, no one's as good as us, of course, but there are some good people out there that will teach you. Get educated. That's going to probably take you 5 or 6 months. Okay, so seriously, you're not going to learn it in a weekend. Okay, you're not going to learn it by just picking up a couple of books or Googling. So you're going to take a bit of time learning and practicing, getting to know what you do before you get that decision to find your first property. Then you've got to buy that first property. You've got to get the offer accepted. Then you've got to get your solicitors on board, and blimey, they take an age, don't they? Then you've got to get to the point of tendering and designing and so on. Then you've got to get your contractor on site and build it out. And of course, you've got to control all any delays. Then you've got to put it in the market for sale. Probably 18 months. So we're talking 2023. So what's the world like in 2023? Well, I don't know. I can have an opinion if you really want, but I'm not going to go on that tonight because we don't have time. But no one knows. The reality is no one knows what 2023 is like. So you've got to start at some point. And my point, as always, is providing you start with a solid 20% profit on gross development value, that'll cover the flexibility of material cost. But providing you've got that solid, that you should cover that, and a very good creative design team will try and get around some of those issues. So material costs, don't wear it. If you're starting the development now, forget it. Don't wear it. No, don't forget starting development. That was wrong, wasn't it? Go, rewind back. Okay. Don't just forget the material cost thing. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal if you're literally starting right now. If you're trying to tender a project right now, it's a bit of a challenge, but try and bring that back into the percentage and just accept that some of the risks that you're going to get in business. There we go. Hopefully there's a good comment there. Ian, what's next?
Got one here from Ricky. Good evening, Ricky. You have mentioned before to get a website for your development business. Is it expensive to get a website up and running to show credibility? No, you've got a number of options, Ricky. The cheapest is to go out and learn how to do WordPress, which is the kind of the default or the sort of the go-to solution if you're going to do your own website typically, because that's what a significant proportion of the world's websites kind of run on for SMEs. And challenge there, of course, is that you've then got to learn how to do WordPress. So if you haven't got any time, I probably wouldn't go down that route. The sort of hybrid solution would be to use something like Wix or GoDaddy, where they have kind of a template, so it's like a website builder. Doesn't cost very much. If you can have certain amounts for free, and then I think probably 50-60 quid you'll be able to get. It's kind of a drag and drop thing. Get it looking pretty good. So that's still involves a bit of work on your part, but it's a lot easier than doing the WordPress thing, I'd say. The luxury option, if you can put it that way, is to hire a designer, web designer. We've had students that have been quoted all sorts for doing web design, and over the years I've been quoted all sorts for doing it as well. You probably don't need to spend any more than a few £100, £300 or £400 should get you a decent website with a decent web designer. After all, we're not looking to kind of reinvent the Apple or Amazon website. This really is something fairly simple, but it does need to look professional. The whole concept of of having your website in place is that all of these wonderful people that you're going to be dealing with, the commercial agents and the estate agents you're going to talk to, your private investors, your commercial lenders, professional team, they're all going to check you out. They're all going to want to know that you're serious about what you do. And if you've got a serious looking, professional looking website behind you, then you're going to be in a much better place than somebody who hasn't got anything. So I'd definitely get your website done, but those are the three kind of tiers that you've got. And if the hybrid one, go to one of the template sites. It doesn't take too long to put it together, and it's relatively inexpensive. Ricky, I hope that helps.
Okay, we're almost running out of time, so I get one more in. Yoko says, could I ask? Yeah, you can ask. Whether you'll get is another thing. Would you think of increasing the contingency provision percentage over the development cost due to increased materials and labor costs, etc.? I probably wouldn't, Yoko. I think if you're tendering right now, maybe, okay, but if we push a few months ahead, I probably wouldn't. The thing is, you've got 10% contingency in there. Now that's 10% on the overall construction cost. So you're covering not only the half of the materials, but also the half of the labor, and the labor is not necessarily going to flex too much. It does have times there's a bit of shortage of this and a bit of shortage of that, but generally, you've got 10%, and in theory you've got 20% on obviously the half of the materials, and it's not all materials. So I suggest you probably got enough there, and you shouldn't always be using all the contingency up. If you feel a little bit uncertainty, you've got you're tendering right now, and you've got an abundance of materials that really are difficult to get, okay, and your cost consultant advises you, then think about it, because it's worth having that in and having that buffer in your finance provision than having to go back and try and ask for some more money. So it's worth having that in the calculations and explaining why. Better to have the provision and then not spend it and have it back in your pocket. But don't forget as well, your profit is, because that's just going to eat away your profit. So make sure that that extra, say 5% you might put in doesn't eat away your profit, in which case then the deal won't get funded. So you've got to think about that. So your profit, in a way, like every business, the profit is an element of contingency. And I don't know of any other business out there that you guarantee your 20% or you guarantee your percentage profit. But obviously we do our best to start at that point so we maximize what we can. If we can get 20%, that's absolutely good. And if you know, at good times, you should do. So I think it is a combination of. So don't just necessarily increase this, increase that, because you can increase all sorts of things. You know, I'd put a bit more in for this, a bit more in for that, and then the deal doesn't stack up. You know, so just be very careful. I don't always think that is necessary. One final comment. It was a longish question, but I'll answer it very quick because I think we have. It says, Russell says, what's the best way to start my development journey in 2022? Well, we're at the beginning of 2022, so I can answer it. I'm with you. I have been sat around for the last 2 years, but now I want to get on. What's your thoughts on where I should start? It's simple, Russell, get educated, okay? Go out there, absorb some information. Pop onto our YouTube channel, Property CEO, on there. Just type in YouTube, Property CEO. Loads of stuff on there, Russell. Past shows, interviews with lots of industry professionals, some snippet videos, and indeed other people provide stuff out there. I'd go and absorb it, okay? Just absorb it, and you know, decide whether that's what you want to do. And if it is, maybe you've already decided that, maybe you don't. Then what I would do is check out there, ask around who could educate you, okay? Because it's a lot quicker, it's less risky. Follow someone that's already done it, and then make your decision and then move forward. But basically, I think, Russell, and for everyone, it just sort of is. It's just go for it. You know, go for it. Get out there. The marketplace is there, as I said earlier. The money's there. The deals are there. Go for it, Russell. There we go. There in tonight's show. That was good, wasn't it?
Very good, very good, very positive. And you've got enough time now to ring your mum and dad.
I will ring them back in a minute. So if you have enjoyed the show, please, as always, pop it in the chat box. Let us know. We do put the show on for you. I mean, well, primarily it's for us, actually, just to get out and have a little rant. But hopefully you're at the other end of that signal out there. You're enjoying it. If you are, pop it in the chat box. Let us know. We like to see those comments in there. Next week's show, same time, isn't it, Ian? Thursday the 20th at 7 o'clock.
It is, yes. Looking forward to
it. Well, absolutely, and I'm sure you all are as well. It'll be Ian and I back next Thursday, so we look forward to seeing you then. And what comments have we got in the chat box from you lovely crowd? So here we go. Debbie says, great show as always, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a laugh. It's been a laugh. Well, that's quite nice, isn't it? Mike says, yeah, great show, good questions, a real good start to 2022. Liam says, great show, good fun. Well, that's it. Great show, good fun. Nice to see you again. Look forward to next week's show, says Adam. Great questions. Nice rant, says Jamie. Harjinder says, thanks for answering the question. It's always good to get a straight answer from you folks. Love you to bits. Harjinder, we love you to bits. Love you all to bits. See you next week. Cheers now. Bye-bye.